At 1:12 a.m., Ken stood in the doorway and watched the glow on Stacy's nightstand. The phone buzzed once. The screen woke, then dimmed. He waited. Another buzz. A name he knew from office chatter slid across the glass. Ronald. He picked up the phone and felt the weight of it in his palm. The lock screen gave him the first line of the message. Not work. Not neutral. A line that belonged in a private room, not in their house. His chest tightened. A second line rolled in. The tone stayed sweet and sure, as if no one could see them. Ken turned the phone face down and looked at Stacy sleeping on her side. 15 years, he thought. 10 lies he kept alive. He told himself he had reasons. He told himself he kept the peace. The room stayed quiet. He decided the quiet would end before the sun came up. Chapter 1, the text. The house had settled into night. The air unit hummed in cycles. The hallway light over the stairs threw a thin stripe across the bedroom carpet. Ken stood there and listened for signs of waking. Nothing. Stacy breathed slow and even. The phone lit again. He moved closer and watched the preview bloom across the glass. Miss your voice. I keep replaying. A small heart followed. Ronald's name sat above the line. Ken pressed the side button and the light died. He set the phone down, screen on the wood, and stared at the outline of Stacy's shoulder under the sheet. He waited for his hands to stop shaking. They did not. He picked up the phone again. The screen woke. Face ID did not open it. He tried the passcode he knew from years back. It failed. A new passcode then. A change he had not noticed. He ground his back teeth and lowered the phone. Another buzz. Are you up? I can talk for a minute. No work tag. No project code. Ronald did not talk like a manager. He talked like a man with a place in her day. Ken looked at the clock. 1:16 a.m. The house felt wrong now, as if every wall held an ear. He set the phone down and walked to the sink in the master bath. He turned the water on low and let it run over his wrists. He watched the stream darken the hair on his hands. He knew how this story played in his head. He was the husband. He had kept a roof over them. He paid bills on time. He kept the old fights small. He also kept a second life in a locked room in his mind. He told himself it balanced. If no one got hurt, then nothing broke. Another buzz. He shut the water off and returned to the nightstand. The message sat there, lit and patient. You fell asleep? A smiling face. Casual, not careful. He did not answer. He took the phone and slipped it into the drawer. He did not want the light to pull him again. He pulled the drawer shut and stood with his hand on the pull until the urge eased. Stacy shifted and pulled the sheet to her chin. Cold, she murmured, eyes closed. Ken moved to the foot of the bed and watched her. The sound of her voice hit him like a tap on the sternum. He held his breath and counted to 5. He told himself to think, not react. He went downstairs, bare feet on cool wood. The kitchen held the soft smell of coffee grounds from earlier. On the counter by the back door sat a small bowl where they tossed keys and receipts. He dug through and found her spare car fob under a grocery slip dated 2 days ago. He set the fob down and opened the fridge. Cold air spilled out. He stared at a row of cans and a carton of eggs. He closed it without taking anything. His mouth tasted of metal. At 1:20 a.m., he sat at the table and pulled his own phone from his pocket. He scrolled to Ronald's contact page in a shared staff list and stared at the work photo. White shirt. Office smile. He had seen the man twice in a quarterly meeting. The voice had been steady then. Measured. Not a flirt in open air. A careful one. Ken typed Ronald's number into the Notes app and read it back twice. He did not call. Not yet. He wanted to hear the shape of the plan in his head first. He wanted control. On the table lay a small notepad with a magnet from a service company. He flipped to a clean page. He wrote a short list in a tight hand. Phone. Car. Work. He circled work once. He heard the floor creak above the kitchen and froze. The sound passed. Pipes clicked. The house returned to a hush. He told himself the marriage deserved an answer. He told himself he would not yell. He would be clear. He would lead. He pushed the notepad away and stood. At 1:24 a.m., he went back up. He opened the drawer. The phone stayed dark. He took a breath and pressed the button. The screen showed the time and the missed messages count. 3 new. Ronald's first name popped up in the stack for each. He set the phone down and walked to Stacy's side. Stace, he said. Her eyes opened, clouded but alert. What's wrong? We need to talk. She blinked. Now. Yes. Now. She sat up and pulled the sheet around her. Is someone hurt? No. Then can it wait until morning? It cannot. She looked past him to the nightstand. Ken, what is this? Who is Ronald? He kept his voice flat. She stared at him. The pause pulled thin. Work. He did not blink. He is not work in those messages. She swallowed. You went through my phone? It lit up in my face. You left it there. That is not the same as permission. He felt the floor tilt under them. Say his name out loud. Her jaw set. Ronald. Say what he is. She drew a slow breath. A friend. His hand lifted and dropped. A friend who sends hearts at 1 a.m. Ken, she said, you do not get to lecture me. He felt heat in his throat. He saw the next 10 lines of this fight step into place. He stepped away from the bed. This ends now. She looked past him at the drawer. He watched her mind work. She knew he had seen enough to force the door open. Her shoulders lowered. She chose a line. I have feelings for him. The room pulled tight around the words. He heard the wash of air from the vent. He heard the clock tick. For how long? He said. A few months. Months. He let the words sit. While you eat at this table and sleep in this bed. She held his eyes. I did not plan it. His mouth shaped a laugh without sound. You planned enough to change your passcode. She flinched, then nodded once. Yes. He felt a strange clarity. Not calm. Not rage. A clean lane. He pointed to the phone. You will tell him it is over. I will not do that at 1:30 a.m. You will tell him now. This is my choice. It stopped being only your choice when you brought him into our house. She stood, sheet tight in her fist. Our house is not a court. You are not a judge. He nodded. You are right. I am not. I am the person you married. I am telling you the line. Silence. She sat back down. Give me the phone. He opened the drawer and placed it in her hand. She looked at the screen and then at him. Leave the room. He shook his head. No. She typed a string of numbers. The phone opened. Her thumbs hovered. The screen glowed on her face. He watched the blue bubble appear and then vanish as she backspaced. He watched her start over. The muscles in her forearm flexed. She set the phone in her lap and looked at him. I will not write lies. You will write the truth then. The truth is I am not ready to end it in a text while you stand over me. He lifted his hands, palms open. Write 4 words. We cannot do this. Her mouth pressed thin. She typed. The words went out into the void. She stared at the screen. It buzzed within seconds. Read it, he said. She did not. Please. He took the phone. The lock closed at once. The screen slid back to the Face ID prompt. He set it down hard enough to rattle the drawer. He stepped back from the bed and drew a breath he hoped looked steady. The quiet of the room pressed on his ears. He felt each beat of his pulse. He spoke slower now. At 7 a.m., we will sit at the table. You will lay this out. All of it. No soft edges. No half-truths. She nodded once. Fine. He turned and walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the frame. One more thing. She did not answer. You will not contact him again tonight. She stared at the blanket. Fine. He went downstairs and stood in the dark kitchen. The clock on the stove read 1:38 a.m. He breathed through his nose and counted. He told himself he had set a line. He told himself he had taken back ground. A soft tap sounded above him. Another. He looked up. He pictured Stacy in the bed with the phone under the covers. He waited. The house kept its secrets. He opened the back door and stepped onto the small deck. The night air felt damp. A car passed 2 streets over. He watched the tops of the trees sway. He put his hands on the rail and squeezed until his knuckles hurt. He went back inside and stood by the table. The notepad lay open with the 3 words. Phone. Car. Work. He drew a box around car. By 1:45 a.m., he had made his choice. He took Stacy's spare fob from the bowl and slipped it into his pocket. He checked his own keys. He set his phone to silent. He opened the garage door and looked at the dark outline of her sedan. He told himself he only wanted the truth in daylight. He told himself he would not cross a line. He told himself the same thing he had told himself for 10 years. Keep control and nothing breaks. The garage door rumbled to a stop. The house went quiet again. Ken closed his fist around the fob and felt the small click under his thumb. He had a line. He had a night. He stepped into the dark and decided where it would end. Chapter 2, The Old Secret. They met long before the first crack showed. A cookout in the small park off Lakeview. Stacy set a bowl of pasta salad on the table and waved Jenny over. Ken, you remember Jen from the office. She moved to our side of town. Jenny laughed and bumped shoulders with Stacy. I keep getting lost at the roundabout. Ken smiled and made a joke about the traffic. It felt easy. The sun hit the water. Kids ran between grills with wet hair and paper cups. No lines were crossed. Not then. The slide started in small things. A group text about a surprise party for Stacy. A call about which bakery to use. A late pickup of a borrowed cake stand. The language stayed clean. The tone warmed. He told himself it was logistics. He liked the way she saw what Stacy needed before Stacy asked. He liked feeling useful to the plan. After the party, Jenny handed him the cleaned cake stand at their door. Doorstep drop, she said. I didn't want to ring and ruin your movie night. He said thanks. She did not leave. You did well tonight, she said. She was happy. He nodded. She was. You looked happy too. He held her eyes one beat too long and then found the door frame. Good night, Jen. Good night, Ken. It took another year to find the next step. A work task that threw them into the same week of prep. Long emails slid into short calls. Short calls slid into coffee at a place across town where no one knew them. He told himself it was still clean. He told himself proximity did not equal fault. When it turned on a day with rain. A slow lunch that ran long. Jenny set her napkin down and said, We are too easy with each other. He made a joke. Is that a crime? It can be, she said. She held his gaze. If we touch it wrong. He felt the room shrink to the table. He heard the tap of the server's pen 2 tables over. He shook his head. We do not have to touch anything. She let the silence sit for a count. We already did. He drove home that afternoon and looked at himself in the mirror by the front door. He told himself he would draw a clean line. He failed by nightfall. They wrote rules because rules made them feel controlled. No photos. No hotel near either of their regular routes. No talk that left a print in shared threads. Always cash if a room got used. Leave receipts in a metal tin in the garage and burn them on the first Sunday of the month. No gifts that lived on a shelf. No birthday overlap. Never on Stacy's big days. Never on holidays. Keep the lies small and repeatable. Jenny kept Stacy close. That was the smartest and darkest move. She built a routine of weekly calls, monthly spa offers, coffee on the second Saturday, a standing walk on the trail once a week when the weather held. She meant it when she said she loved Stacy as a friend. She also used it. She saw shifts in tone sooner than Ken ever did. She steered questions away when a shadow crossed Stacy's face. She dropped stories that made Ken look busy and reliable. It kept the ground under all 3 of them smooth. They built cover stories without saying they were cover stories. If Stacy asked where Ken was, Jenny had a calendar item she could backfill in casual talk. He mentioned a vendor meeting, she would say. He said it might go late. If Stacy asked where Jenny had been, Ken said he saw her car near the print shop. All of it sounded small. Small things pass. He and Jenny split the risk like partners. She kept a cheap phone with no names in it. Calls came and blocked and went out from public Wi-Fi. Ken made a point to leave his phone on the kitchen counter when he took the dog out at night. He told Stacy he liked the quiet. Jenny kept a white cardigan in her trunk and changed before she reached the trail, so the smell of her last stop did not follow her into a chat with Stacy. They learned how to look unremarkable. Once 2 years in, Stacy asked a question that cut close. Do you think Jen seems tired lately? She said one Sunday, folding towels at the table. Ken kept his eyes on the towel. She's carrying a lot at work. Stacy nodded. She carries a lot for me too. He felt heat rise under his collar. She wants to help. She does, Stacy said. It scares me that she gives so much. He let the towel sit. Why does it scare you? I don't want her to burn out. She stayed with me after my wisdom tooth surgery and refused to leave. That is not normal for most people. He reached for the next towel. Some people are built wide, he said. They carry more. Stacy smiled. Like you. He forced a grin back down. Like me. 3 years in, a close call recalibrated the rules. Ken forgot a blue pen in the cup holder after a meeting with Jenny. The pen bore a logo from a clinic across town. Stacy picked it up when she moved his car seat back. When were you near West Park Medical? She asked. He looked at the pen, then at her. I borrowed it at the finance office. We do not bank there. I met a client there. Who? He picked a true name from a work chart and tied it to a false location. It threaded the needle and slid past. He dropped the pen in a donation box the next day. He made a new rule with Jenny. Never move anything between cars. Jenny's rules often came first. She carried the larger fear. She could not afford a fracture with Stacy. She had built her life with Stacy in it. If the truth came out, she would lose her closest person and the small community that came with her. She did not speak about love when she set rules. She spoke about safety. She spoke about timing. She spoke about clean exits from any room. Text me only from the library Wi-Fi, she told him once, standing by the returns bin at dusk. No late-night bursts. No mood talk. Business tone only. Understood, he said. She gave him a look. Say it back. Business tone only. She nodded. Good. Every few months, she ran a check on Stacy's mood. She did not call it that. It happened in the small pockets of their friendship. A hair trim in a bathroom with an old chair. A movie night. A walk along the trail with cups of tea. Jenny would float a question that sounded like care. How are you and Ken? Are you sleeping okay? You seemed quiet last week. She watched Stacy's eyes and listened for tiny hesitations. If something snagged, she raised a flag with Ken in a short call from a parking lot. You need to be perfect for a week, she might say. Bring flowers. Ask about her day and listen. No stray noises. He would adjust. He would double-check receipts and empty pockets and stay home. He would cook meatloaf and clean the sink trap and watch Stacy's shoulders loosen by Friday. He felt proud of himself. He mistook maintenance for care. In year 5, Jenny tried to end it. Not in anger. In calculation. We should step back, she said in a car at the far end of a mall lot. We have pushed our luck. He knew she was right. He also knew he would not follow through. We are careful, he said. We do not make mistakes. We make the same mistake every week, she said. We are just good at wrapping it. He looked at her hands on the steering wheel. He looked at the faint groove a ring had left on her finger when she took it off for the gym. He felt a sharp tug in his chest. I will do what you decide. She nodded and stared out at the empty spaces. Give me 2 weeks of space. No calls. No texts. Let me reset. They lasted 9 days. He broke the quiet with a message that said nothing and asked nothing. She answered. They met. They did not speak of stopping for another year. Jenny kept a ledger in her head. Not of favors. Of risk points. She knew when Stacy's mother fell sick and how grief made Stacy cling to her routines. She knew when Ken pushed on work and how that clipped his tone. She knew the birthdays of Stacy's closest coworkers and the way a late thank you could turn into a suspicion if she did not precede an excuse. She ran a schedule for 3 hearts and called it friendship. Sometimes she looked at Ken like a partner. Sometimes she looked at him like a liability. You leave too many traces when you get scared, she said once. When you doubt, you move. When you move, you mark. Learn to stay still. He hated hearing it. He knew she was right. He worked on it. He sat on his hands and let days run without feeding the itch to check, to call, to see. He told himself he was strong. He told himself strength looked like restraint. Year 7 brought the first light warning from Stacy that Jenny did not clock in time. A dinner with Stacy's cousin at a downtown place where the servers knew regulars by name. The cousin asked about a bar across the river. Jenny had posted a photo in a group chat from that block. Stacy said, "You never go there. You hate the noise." Jenny laughed it off the next morning. "It was a one-off," she said to Stacy on a call. "Riley dragged me." Stacy bought it. Ken did not sleep well for 2 nights. He and Jenny added a new rule. No posts that put her near his routes. Jenny kept the rule for a while. Then she forgot for a week and posted a group photo after a charity run near Ken's office. He called her from a lot behind a diner. "You cannot do that." She exhaled. "I know. Delete it." "I already did." They sat in silence and listened to the edges fray. Then they moved on. Jenny held real love for Stacy. That was the worst part and the glue. She helped Stacy pick dresses for interviews. She sat with her at the doctor and took notes. She kept a list of things that eased Stacy's headaches and texted reminders to drink water on days with storm pressure. She lived inside Stacy's trust and used that cover to shield the lie. It made her harder to hate and easier to keep. Ken, for his part, learned to split himself. He could sit at dinner and tell a story about a client with a clogged gutter and laugh at the right beat, then leave dishes in the rack and drive to a lot 2 towns over to sit in the dark. He told himself he meant no harm. He told himself the pieces of his life did not touch. He told himself the secret lived in a room without doors. The first time Jenny said, "We need a play if this ever cracks," he felt a wave of cold behind his ribs. "It will not crack," he said. "Hope is not a plan," she said. He looked out at the line of trees that made a black edge against the night sky. He nodded. "What is the plan?" "Distance," she said. "No fights. No scenes. We step back and look calm. We say we had a close friendship, and it got messy. We both turn toward Stacy and hold steady. We let time do the work. And if time does not—" She did not answer. She watched the sky until a plane blinked low and passed behind the pines. Years 8 and 9 blurred. They were careful. They were boring. Boring is safe. They reset the rules every spring when tax folders came out and the house got cleaned. They threw old notes in the burn bin and watched gray flakes rise. They shook hands like partners after the ashes cooled. Then they went back to their lives. All of this sat under the night when Ronald's name lit Stacy's screen. Ken did not know yet how closely the plates had shifted. Jenny did. She had seen Stacy go quiet in late summer and then light up in early fall. She had asked soft questions and heard soft answers with edges she did not like. "Work is better with a new project," Stacy had said in a late call. "The new lead is organized and fair." Jenny had smiled into the phone. "I am glad." "He listens." "I am glad." Jenny lay awake that night and stared at her ceiling. She pulled up a blank note and typed 3 lines. "Watch tone. Watch time. Ask about new lead without fishing." She deleted the note and set the phone down. She did not like writing fear into a place where it could be found. She carried it instead. 2 weeks later, she saw Stacy's eyes slide to her phone 3 times during a coffee. The screen stayed face down. The sound stayed off. Stacy was present and not present. Jenny felt the ground tilt. On the drive home, she called Ken from a lot behind a pharmacy. "Be clean this week," she said. "Be kind." "What happened?" "She is somewhere else. I do not know where." Ken gripped the wheel. "Is it me?" "No," Jenny said. "It is something new." He tasted metal and said nothing. Jenny started to tighten her circle. She kept Stacy close and gentle. She watched for names and places. She asked about work in a way that gave Stacy room to talk or to hold back. She did not push. Pushing makes names fall out. She did not want a name. Not yet. When the name came, it came at a kitchen island on a Sunday afternoon. Stacy, soft and open from a long walk, let a small line slip. "Ron is good with the team," she said. "He reads the room." Jenny set her cup down. Ronald, Stacy said. "New lead. It has been a relief." Jenny kept her face still and her voice light. "I remember you said a new lead started." Stacy smiled. "He resets meetings on time. It sounds small, but it changes the day." Jenny asked one safe question about a project and switched to a story about a neighbor's dog. She left 20 minutes later and sat in her car with her hands on the wheel. The windows fogged. She drew a small circle in the glass and wiped it away. She thought about the ledger. She thought about the plan she had made for cracks. She did not like how little it covered this shape. This was not a rumor or a look that went on too long. This was order and calm and a voice that made Stacy breathe easier. That was harder to argue with than a rush. She called Ken again from the lot near the library, where she felt invisible. "We are at a pivot," she said. "What does that mean?" "It means do not make sudden moves. No checks. No calls. No parking lot passes. When she looks at you, you need to look like the best thing in the room." He sat in silence. "I can do that. You will do that. Are you afraid?" "Yes," she said. "But fear is not the point. The point is control." They followed the plan for a week. It did not change the drift. Jenny watched Stacy sharpen at work talk and go dim at home talk. She watched the way Stacy rinsed a cup and paused at the window like she was listening for a car on a far street. She watched and kept her hands still. Near the end of that week, Jenny faced a truth she had kept in the corner for years. If Stacy found a new center, no rule would hold. The ledger could not keep balance if Stacy wanted a different life. Friendship could not absorb that impact. Jenny would lose Stacy. Ken would lose his home. The only person who could slow the roll was Ken, and she did not trust his judgment when he felt cornered. She opened a small notebook she used for grocery lists and wrote 4 words on the last page. She kept them covered with a folded receipt from a garden store. "Keep Stacy. Keep calm." 2 nights later, Jenny's phone lit with a single line from Ken at 1:12 a.m. "We need to talk." She stared at it and felt the old world tip. She typed back one word. "Where?" They chose a lot behind the closed furniture store that ran dark after midnight. She parked 2 spaces over from his car and killed her lights. He got in on the passenger side and closed the door soft. He told her about the messages. He told her the time. He told her the name. She did not ask for the words on the screen. She did not need to know them. She asked one question. "What did you do?" "I told her it ends now." Jenny turned and looked at him. "You gave an order?" "I drew a line. She will step over it." He closed his eyes. "Then what?" She watched the next shape move behind his face. She measured it and then cut it off. "You will not touch him. You will not watch his car. You will not call his phone. You will look steady and clean and present. You will make home feel better than his voice." He swallowed. "What if that is not enough?" Jenny turned the key to run the air and then turned it back off. "Then we take a different step," she said. "But not that one." He nodded and stared at the dash. "I hear you." She put both hands on the wheel to stop them from shaking. "Good," she said. "Because I am not losing her to your fear." He flinched. "She is mine too." "She was," Jenny said. "Hold still now. Do not make me choose." She watched him breathe. She saw the fight in him look for a wall and find none. He nodded again, slower. They sat in the quiet until a train horn sounded far off. He opened the door. "I will text you at 7, he said. "Do not," she said. "We go quiet until there is a reason to speak." He paused, then nodded. "Right." He stepped out and closed the door. She watched him walk to his car and stand behind it for a long moment with his hands on the trunk. He looked like a man holding a heavy box. Then he got in and drove away with his lights low. Jenny rested her head on the wheel and let one small sound out into the car. Then she sat up straight, wiped her eyes with her wrists, and set her face. She would keep Stacy close. She would keep the circle tight. She would watch for the next shift and step into it fast. She would not let the balance slip. Chapter 3, Double Standard. At 7:12 a.m., the kitchen sat in gray light. The coffee maker clicked. The table held 2 mugs and a yellow legal pad. Ken set his phone face down and waited for Stacy to sit. She came in with her hair tied back and a sweater thrown on. She did not look at him first. She looked at the window, then at the chair. He kept his voice level. "Start with the truth." She took the chair across from him. "I told you last night. I have feelings for Ronald." "How far?" "We have talked. We have met for coffee. We have not crossed the line you think." He watched her face for a flick. "What line do I think?" "You think I took it to a room." He let the words hang. "Did you?" "No." He wrote one word on the pad. "Coffee." She watched the pen. "And calls." "How many?" "I will not count for you." "You will." She drew a breath and looked at the stove clock. He waited. She looked back at him. "Enough to know I am not guessing." He felt the heat move into his neck. He kept the pen on the paper. "You changed your passcode." "Yes." "You knew what that meant." "I knew I did not want you in my phone." He tapped the pad once with the pen. "Say his last name." She stared at him. "Why?" "Because names make things clear." She said it. The sound of it landed hard on the table and stayed. He wrote both names on the first line. "Stacy." "Ronald." He underlined the second. He said, "You will stop." She shook her head. "You do not order me." He set the pen down. "I set a boundary for this house." "You set a boundary for me because you feel hurt." "I feel humiliated," he said. "Humiliated in my own kitchen." She flinched at the word and then straightened. "I feel alone in my own house." He watched her hands on the mug. The knuckles were pale. He kept his tone flat. "You can feel alone without bringing another man into our bed in your head." She looked up fast. "Do not frame it like that." "How would you frame it?" "I found a person who listens. He is calm. He makes me feel seen. That says more about us than about him." "Us," he said. "You and me." "Yes." He wrote the word on the second line. "Us." He drew a box around it. "You chose him to fix what you did not ask me to fix." "I asked," she said. "In small ways. You did not hear me." He kept his face still. He had seen the messages at 1:12 a.m. He had stood in the doorway while the phone lit up. He said, "You are making this about tone and timing. It is about loyalty." She looked at the mug again. "Loyalty does not mean silence." He leaned back. The chair legs bumped. He let the small sound pass. "You want me to accept that you ran to a man at work because I did not respond fast enough." I did not run to anyone. It grew. I fought it, and then stopped fighting it. He felt the sting of that. He did not move. Why him? He is steady. The word landed clean. He thought of how Jenny had coached him to look steady and clean and present. He pushed the thought down. He said, "You will tell him it ends. You will send that today. Then we get help. We rebuild." She studied him for a count. "You think this is a meeting and a memo. I think this is a fork. Pick a road." "I will not pick a road with you holding a pen like a judge." "Then tell me how we move." "I need time. I need a week where you do not press every hour. Where you show me you can hear me without punishing me." He felt the word punish scrape him. "I am not punishing. I am protecting what we built." She nodded once. "This is the part where you say you built it more than me." He laughed once short. "I kept it standing." She looked at him like she was seeing a new thing. "You kept it standing for your image. You have been gone in plain sight." He reached for the pad and pressed the pen to the paper. The tip dug a small hole. He pulled it back. "You are making excuses. I am making a line. I will not be talked to like a child. Then do not act like one." She sat back. The chair did not move. Her eyes did not leave his. "Ken, listen. I am not saying I did right. I am saying I did not drop into this from nowhere. I have been telling you I am tired." You nodded and changed the subject. He looked past her at the sink. The tap had a scratch along the neck from years back. He brought his eyes back. "I heard you. You did not." He did not give her the point. He held to the thing that felt solid. "If a man had sent me those messages, you would have set my bags on the porch by dawn." She nodded. "Yes." He waited for the hit. It did not come. She looked tired in a way that did not ask for pity. It asked for clarity. He said, "So hold yourself to your own standard." She took a slow drink and set the mug down. "My standard is to tell the truth now. Tell it to me. All of it." "I talked to him because I felt alone," she said. "I liked how my chest felt when his name flashed. I liked feeling wanted. I liked how my mind slowed when he spoke. I am not proud of that. It happened." He wanted to take that and crush it. He told himself pride would keep him straight. He told himself he had not taken what she had taken. He told himself his decade of control was something else. "Lesser," he said. "You crossed a line in this house. You did it fast and in the open." She held his eyes. "You do not get to rank sins by speed." He stood and walked to the sink. He turned the water on low like he had done in the night. He listened to the thin stream. He turned it off. He dried his hands on a dish towel and put the towel back on the rack. He faced her. "Here is what will happen. You will message him and end it. You will copy me if needed. Then we set a time with a counselor. Today if we can. This is not a debate." She shook her head. "I will not copy you on a private message. I will not drag my work into my kitchen." He stepped closer to the table and placed both hands flat on the wood. "Your work walked into our bed when his name lit your screen." Her mouth tightened. "Stop saying that. Because it sounds like what it is. It sounds like you want to hurt me back." He straightened. "I want you to feel what this did." She took a breath and let it out slow. "I feel it." He felt no satisfaction. He felt a hum that made his fingers press the wood harder. He said, "Say you will end it. I will talk to him today. I will end it if that is what I decide after the talk." He blinked. "After the talk?" "Yes. You want closure. I want agency." He laughed once, no sound. He looked at the clock. 7:29 a.m. He went to the counter and poured more coffee he did not want. He spoke without turning. "Then hear this. If you carry this past today, I will call your mother and mine. I will call anyone who matters and tell them we need space to fix a breach. I will not sit here and play house while you text him." She stood. "You will not shame me into a decision." He turned and held the mug in both hands. "I will not live in an open triangle." She nodded once. "Then do not." The words landed with a cold click. He felt them in his teeth. He put the mug down and walked to the doorway. He stopped. "How long has it been? Give me a date." She looked down at the table. She did not pick a safe answer. "Early June." He counted months in his head. He saw cookouts and bills and laughter in the kitchen. He saw the dog at the door. He made a mark in his mind. He would remember June. He said, "Did Jenny know?" The room went still. Stacy looked up fast. Why would Jenny know? He kept his face flat. "You two tell each other everything." "Not this." He watched her a beat longer. He believed her. He filed it as a point he could hold if needed. He did not say the 10 years in his head. He did not let that ghost in. He picked up the legal pad and tore off the top sheet. He folded it twice and slid it into his back pocket. He left the blank pad on the table. We talk again at noon. I have work. Then at 6. She nodded. At 6. He walked past her and felt a pull to look back. He did not. He went to the garage door. He pressed his palm to the cold metal and let the steel give him something solid. He told himself he was right. He told himself her fresh wrong outweighed anything with dust on it. He told himself that was math that made sense. He took his keys from the hook and paused. He did not know where to go. The office would ask for a face he did not have. The gym would feel like noise. The park would feel exposed. He chose motion over thought. He stepped out and closed the door soft. In the car he sat with his hands on the wheel and stared at the line of light under the garage. He did not start the engine. He took out his phone and opened a text thread with no name on it. His thumb floated over the glass. He put the phone face down on his thigh. He counted to 10. He lifted it and typed 4 words. We need to talk. He watched the typing bubble appear on its own and then stop. It started again. It stopped. He set the phone on the seat. He told himself it was not a request for help. It was coordination. It was control. It was the smart move before a day that could slide. He started the car and backed out into the morning. At the table inside, Stacy stood alone. She picked up the legal pad and saw the marks he had made. Names in his hand. A box around a word. She tore the page free and folded it small. She slid it into the pocket of her sweater. She looked at the stove clock. 7:41 a.m. She walked to the sink and ran water over a mug that did not need rinsing. She turned the water off and pressed both hands to the counter. She felt the ring on her finger against the wood. She did not take it off. Her phone buzzed on the edge of the counter. She did not look. She waited. It buzzed again. She lifted it and stared at the screen. She typed 1 line and then erased it. She typed a second line and erased that too. She set the phone down and held the edge of the counter until the urge to answer passed. She would decide at 6. She told herself that. She told herself the word decide meant something now. Outside, Ken turned at the end of the street and merged into the slow river of cars. His hands were steady on the wheel. He felt the line he had drawn in the kitchen settle into his bones. His phone lit on the seat. The screen showed a single name. He let it ring once. Twice. He picked it up. Where? Jenny said. He looked at the dashboard clock. He looked at the road ahead. Same place, he said. He ended the call and drove. The day opened in front of him like a door he would have to hold with both hands. He told himself he would not let it swing shut on him. He pressed the gas and did not look back. Chapter 4. Handle it. At 8:10 a.m., they sat in Jenny's car behind the furniture store. The lot was empty. The morning had that wet shine left by a quick rinse of rain. Ken kept his hands on his knees and stared at the glove box. Jenny watched his face. Say what you want to do. I want him out of our life. That is not a plan. That is a feeling. He looked at her, jaw tight. What is your plan? Keep Stacy steady. Keep you from making a mess. Buy time. He shook his head. Time is how this grew. Time is the only thing that cools it. She kept her voice flat. You go loud and you lose. He looked out the windshield. She said she wants agency. She does. So give her a clean day. Then set a frame she can accept. Not orders. A frame. He rubbed his thumb along a seam in the seat. What does handle it mean to you? Contain risk. Close doors. Control the story she hears next. He turned back. Control how? Be perfect at home. And at work, you do not snarl. You do not posture. You look like a man who is balanced. And if that does nothing, then we take a step that changes the room without breaking it. He waited. Say it. Move out for a week by your choice. Take the air out of the fight. Separate her from the thrill of secret calls. Space turns highs into quiet. He blinked. Leave the house. On your terms. With care. With a clear line. It makes you look like a person making a boundary, not a cornered husband. He let the words sit. You think she will follow me into that frame? I think she will look at who is calm and true. She paused. He is calm. You need to be truer. He tapped his knuckles against his knee. You talk like this is a case. It is, she said. It is a case for who Stacy trusts when the floor moves. He stared at the space between them. And you, where are you in this case? In the line behind her, she said. Always. He swallowed. Behind her and next to me. She did not look away. Today, yes. If you make this ugly, I step out. He nodded once, like a man taking a hit he had earned. I hear you. She started the car for air, and then cut it off. Do not call him. Do not stand outside rooms. Do not demand proof. You are not a cop. He sat back. What about work? He is there. You keep your lane. You keep your seat. You let policy exist without dragging it into your living room. You do not threaten. You do not hint. You are glass. He closed his eyes a moment. Glass breaks. Then be tempered glass. He almost smiled. It did not stick. If I step out for a week, she will think she won. She will think you set a line without rage. That is a win. He breathed out. You sound sure. I am not sure, she said. I am disciplined. They sat quiet. A delivery truck rolled past on the street and faded. He said, When did we become this? Her answer was quick. The day we decided to hide it. He held her look and then opened the door. I will text you if there is a real shift. You will not, she said. We go quiet unless it is a fire. He paused with one foot out. Right. He closed the door and walked to his car. She watched him drive off, and then gripped the wheel until the tremor in her hands went still. At 9:40, Jenny met Stacy for a short walk on the trail. The sky had cleared. Wet leaves stuck to the path. They walked side by side. Stacy spoke first. He wants me to end it today. Jenny kept her pace even. What do you want? I want space to think. I do not want a public fight. Then ask for space. He hears space as a trick. Say it clean. Say you need 3 days to think, and you will talk at a set time. Noon on Friday. Or 6. Pick a number and hold it. Stacy nodded. He will hate that. He will respect it if you hold steady. They walked in silence for 30 steps. Birds rattled in the brush. Stacy said, You ever feel like you built a life that looks good from the sidewalk, and then you open the door and the water is on the floor? Jenny stared at the path. Yes. Do you think I am a bad person? Jenny did not look at her. No. Stacy exhaled. I do not know who I am in this. You are a person who wants to be heard, Jenny said. Pick who hears you and why. Then tell Ken the plan. Keep it small and clear. Stacy nodded again. Small and clear. Jenny changed the subject to a neighbor's porch paint. Stacy let it change. They finished the loop and hugged by the lot. Jenny watched Stacy drive away and felt the ledger in her head add a red mark. At 11:03, Ken parked 2 blocks from a coffee shop and sat with the engine off. He could feel the urge to move. He recognized it now. Jenny had named it for him. When you doubt, you move. When you move, you mark. He stayed in the car. He called a hotel and asked for a quiet room for 3 nights. He gave a credit card and used the work discount. He hung up and texted Stacy. Dinner at 6. I will be clear. I will also give you space after. 3 nights. Hotel. No drama. He watched the dots appear and disappear. Her reply landed. Thank you. He started the car and drove to the office. The parking lot looked like every other weekday. He sat for a minute and checked his face in the mirror. Calm was the assignment. He did not feel calm. He could still carry it. In the lobby, he passed 2 coworkers and gave short nods. He rode the elevator alone. He did not push the button for Ronald's floor. His thumb hovered. He pulled his hand back to his side and looked at the glowing numbers climb. On his floor, he set his bag down and opened his inbox. He answered 3 simple emails first. He stood and walked to the break room, poured coffee, and said good morning to a woman from accounting. He returned to his desk. He looked like a person inside a regular day. At noon, he stepped into a small stand-up meeting and kept his comments on track. After, he went back to his desk and opened a new calendar invite. He typed a title and stopped. Project Alignment Touch Base. He stared at the screen. He deleted the invite and pushed his chair back. He walked to a window and looked across to the other wing where the glass caught a sliver of sky. He felt the line between impulse and plan. He stayed on the plan. His phone buzzed once. A number with no name. He lifted it, half expecting Jenny to break her own rule. The message was not from her. Can we talk after 5? I need to set a time. Stacy. He typed back one line. 6 at home. Okay. He set the phone down. He closed his eyes for a long breath. At 2:20, Jenny sat in her car outside a drugstore and stared at a list. Milk. Paper towels. Band-Aids. She held the pen above the page and did not write. She thought about what handle it might become if Ken lost the thread at 6. She did not want to picture it. She pictured it anyway. Raised voices. A door. A drive made on adrenaline. She called a counselor's office and left a simple message that did not overshare. She asked for an opening within the week. She kept her name clean. She used a number that would not cross a shared bill. Then she called her own therapist and took the first slot at 8 on Thursday. She wrote it on a sticky note and slid it behind a business card in her wallet. She drove to Stacy's house and dropped a lasagna at the door with a short card. For later this week. No need to reply. She texted once after she pulled away. On the porch. Eat or freeze. Love you. She did not wait for the dots to move. By 4, Ken had booked the room and packed a small bag in his head. Shirts. 2. Pants. 1. Shoes. 1 pair. Toiletries. He would drive over after the talk and check in. He told himself the clean exit would slow the spin. He told himself he would not check on any cars or doors. He would not make loops. He would not circle addresses. He would not become a man with maps. He left at 5:30 and drove home. The house looked ordinary. 2 bins at the curb. A package on the stoop from a company that mailed vitamins in small packets. He unlocked the door and stepped in. Stacy stood at the sink with her hair down. She turned and wiped her hands on a towel. Thank you for the text. He nodded. Sit. They sat. He kept his voice steady. He laid out what he would do. 3 nights at a hotel. A session with a counselor as soon as he could get one. No public blow-ups. No calls to parents. No work drama. He would not raise his voice. He would not read her phone. He asked for 1 line. No contact with Ronald while they were in this pause. Stacy listened, chin lifted slightly. I can hold that line for 3 days. Say it. I will not contact him until Friday at 6. He nodded. Thank you. She looked at his face. Where will you stay? City Suites on Maple. I will text the room. She nodded again. Do you want to take the dog? You keep him. He calms you. She looked at the floor and then back up. I am sorry that I put us here. He held his breath and let it out. I am sorry that I missed the cues. They looked at each other for a long beat that felt almost quiet. He stood. I will pack a small bag. She nodded. Okay. He went to the bedroom and pulled a duffel from the closet. He folded shirts and set them in a clean stack. He put a charger in the side pocket. He paused at the drawer where her phone had lit the night before. He did not open it. On his way out, he saw the legal pad missing from the table. He did not ask. At the door he turned. 6 on Friday. We talk like this again. Yes. He stepped onto the porch. The air had cooled. He carried the bag to the car and set it on the seat. Across town, Jenny sat at her small kitchen table with a glass of water and a blank page. She wrote 4 lines. Ken checked in. Friday 6. Hold Stacy. Hold still. She underlined the last line once. At 7:30, in his hotel room, Ken sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the neutral art on the wall. He closed his eyes and let the quiet fill his ears. He had done the thing Jenny asked. He had stepped out without a scene. He had offered a frame that felt like safety. His phone buzzed. Thank you for the space. Stacy. He typed back. We will use it well. He put the phone down and stood at the window. The city street below looked ordinary. A couple walked past with takeout bags. A bus side at a stop. He pressed his palm to the glass and let the cool of it sit in his skin. He did not think about the office. He did not think about a floor he had not visited. He did not think about a name. He thought about Friday at 6 and about sitting at the table again without heat in his throat. He told himself he could make it steady. He told himself he had started right. On a 3rd floor across the river, a door closed on an empty conference room. A chair rolled an inch and stopped. Ken did not see it. He turned from the glass and picked up his bag. He hung his shirts in the small closet and set his shoes side by side on the carpet. He sat on the bed and leaned back on his hands. He had handled the first move. Morning would ask for the next. Chapter 5, Receipts. Ronald unlocked his office before 8 and set his bag beside the chair. The building still held the quiet of a day not yet started. He opened a fresh notebook and wrote the date at the top right corner. He drew 3 small boxes under it and left them empty. His phone buzzed. A message from Stacy. Short and careful. I need 3 days of quiet. Friday at 6. He read it twice. He typed 2 words. Understood. Safe. He set the phone face down. He looked at the notebook again. He wrote a line. Stacy, requested pause to think. No contact until Friday 6. He did not write feelings. He wrote facts. He closed the cover and slid the notebook to the edge of the desk where his hand could find it without looking. He moved to the computer and opened his work messages. He ran a quick search for his own name and export dates. He saved the week's threads to a local archive inside the company system. Clean copies. Normal practice. No flair. He labeled the folder with the project code and the date. He checked the labels twice. He felt the small prickle in his neck that said a story had left private rooms and entered rooms with glass. He had seen it before. A rumor in a team. A bad breakup that bled into a sprint. The fix was the same. He kept records and stayed even. At 8:20, a calendar ping rolled across his screen from a manager 2 floors up. Pulse check. 15 minutes. He accepted and added his notebook to the bag. In the small conference room with the wide screen, the manager spoke about resourcing. She asked for a quick round on blockers. Ronald kept his notes tight. When it ended, she held him back with a small lift of her hand. "You good?" she said. "I am." She looked at his face. "You sure?" "Yes," he said. "I am doing the work. Team is on pace." She nodded. "Keep it boring," she said. "Boring ships." "I like boring," he said. She gave him a small smile. "Same." He returned to his floor and sat. He opened his call log and tapped the info button on a number that had rung late twice last week and then gone dead. No name. Not a spam pattern. He screenshotted the log and saved it in a private folder on his personal phone with the date. He did not build a case against anyone. He built a record for himself. Dates. Times. Who called whom. He recorded his own calls when he had reason to believe the tone would turn tense. His state allowed it. He had checked that long ago when a contractor went hard at a payment dispute. He marked recordings with a single word so he could find them fast. At 9, he returned a message from a vendor. He spoke in clean lines and offered a next step. He did the same at 9:40 with a team member who missed a spec. He kept the day moving forward on rails. Rails win. Rails keep people honest. At 10:15, a person from Ken's floor walked by his pod and said hi on the way to the printer. Ronald nodded back. He felt the look linger and then move on. An ordinary moment that registered as more. He wrote a tiny note in his book. Cross-floor pass. Watch pattern before naming it. He kept working. At 11, the number with no name rang again. He let it go to voicemail and then listened with the phone to his ear and the blinds opened to street light. Air moved through the duct above him. A man's breath. A pause. Then nothing. The line ended without a word. He saved it and labeled it unknown. Third call. Silence. He set the phone down and did not touch it for 5 minutes. At lunch he stayed at his desk and ate a sandwich from the deli downstairs. He scrolled a news feed that did not help, then closed it. He called his own voicemail from a landline and entered his passcode. He deleted old messages that had no use. He kept recent ones that marked a shift in tone. He backed up his contacts and moved the export to a secure cloud tied to his personal account. Not the company. Not the work laptop. He kept the lanes separate. At 1, he took a walk around the block to see if the world still looked ordinary. It did. A delivery truck blocked a lane, and a driver waved a car through. A woman carried a plant in a white pot across the crosswalk and smiled at no one. The wind put a chill in his sleeves. He went back in and rode the elevator alone. Near 2, he called his sister and asked about a birthday for his niece. He spoke for 5 minutes, laughed once, and hung up. He put a small human call in the middle of a day that wanted to tip toward paranoia. He did not want the day to have that. At 2:30, he sat with a team member who worried about a deadline. He broke the work into 3 steps and set times on each. He wrote the steps on a sticky and handed it over. The person's shoulders lowered. He marked a box in his own notebook with a check. One of the 3 at the top of the page. At 3, a coworker from another wing dropped a line in a channel about meeting notes. Ronald answered quickly and pulled the thread back to the project. He did not add heat. He did not leave room for a tone to be read. He kept a small bag in the bottom right drawer with a charger, a spare power bank, and a thumb drive. He made sure the bank held a charge. He wrote the time next to it. He stopped himself and closed the drawer. He would not turn his desk into a bunker. He would not make the room the enemy. His phone buzzed with a message from Stacy. Hotel. Clean plan. Thank you. He typed 2 words. Be safe. He did not offer comfort beyond that line. He did not reach past the boundary she had asked for. He put the phone face down and let the urge pass. At 3:30, a reply landed on a thread he had left alone for years. Ken. A simple note about a document version on a shared drive. No ping. No open tone. The message included a manager and spelled out the next steps by the book. Ronald read it 3 times. The phrasing told him 2 things. 1. Ken had stopped himself from writing what he wanted to write. 2. Ken wanted a record to exist. He wrote a line in the notebook. Ken, formal tone in open thread with CC, treat as glass. He kept his day in bounds. He finished a review. He sent 2 schedules. He signed out of the system at 5:10 and put the notebook in his bag. He slid his badge in his pocket and checked under the chair once for a fallen pen. On the sidewalk, he stood for a moment and watched the stream of people pull into the crosswalk. He blended into it and crossed with them. He did not go straight home. He stopped at a copy shop and printed 2 pages from a folder on his personal phone. A call log, a short list of dates and times with 1-line notes. He put the pages into a manila envelope and sealed it. He printed the word private at the top edge in small block letters. He drove to his place and set the envelope on a high shelf inside a closet. Not hidden, not exposed. He closed the door and stood in the hall with the light off. He listened to the small sounds of the building. A neighbor's laugh, water in a distant pipe. The envelope sat behind the door and changed the posture of the room. He felt the shift and then stepped away from it. He checked his locks. He set his phone on the counter and plugged it in. He poured water and drank it down. He did not turn on the television. He let the quiet be the quiet. The phone buzzed once. A late email from a project partner. He answered with a 2-line response and a time for the next day. He kept the tone clean. He kept the circle of CCs to the team only. He opened a note on his phone labeled State. He had made it months ago for a different reason. He wrote 5 words. Stay even. Document. Do not chase. He set the phone down. He sat at the table and opened his notebook again. He flipped back to a week in June and scanned the days. He did not know the date that mattered to other people inside the story that now pressed against his own. He knew his days. He could point to any Tuesday and tell you where he had been at 9 and at 4. He had built that habit when he took this job. It steadied him. He added a new box to the page and wrote Friday 6 under it. He drew a long line from the box to the bottom margin. He capped the pen and set it aside. At 6:19, his phone lit with a name from work he had not seen in weeks. He considered letting it roll. He answered. Hey, Ronald. Quick question, the voice said. Did you move the budget table into the shared folder? Yes, he said. Yesterday at 4. Great. Thanks. The call ended. He saved the time in his log with a small tick. Not because the call mattered, because the day had a shape and he wanted to remember it. He went to the gym and ran 2 miles on a treadmill. He kept the speed steady. He did not look up at the screens on the wall. He counted his breaths. He walked home. He cooked pasta and ate it at the counter. At 8:40, his phone lit with an unknown number again. He let it ring twice. He answered and said hello in a calm voice. Silence for a beat. Then a click. The line died. He saved it and wrote the time. He called his voicemail from the landline again. He cleared out noise. He kept what might matter. He wrote the word pattern in the margin and drew a small square next to it. He did not fill the square yet. At 9, he set his phone to do not disturb and left the emergency bypass on for his sister and for one other person. He stood by the window and looked at the street. 3 floors down, a couple argued in low voices. A siren sounded far away and faded. He closed the blinds. He lifted the sealed envelope from the closet, weighed it in his hand, and put it back. He wanted one more layer. Not doom. Redundancy. He opened his laptop and created a simple document. Title. Date. Personal log. Key dates for any future inquiry. He entered 4 lines with times. He did not add commentary. He printed it and slid it behind the first 2 pages in the envelope. He pressed the seal down again. He slept with the phone on the nightstand and the screen face down. He woke once at 2 and listened to the building breathe. He slept again. Morning brought a calm sky and the sound of a leaf blower on the block. Ronald shaved, dressed, and left early. He carried the notebook in his bag and the envelope in a plastic sleeve under a stack of project printouts. He did not plan to show it to anyone. He planned for a day when he might need to prove the order of things. At his desk, He opened the notebook and checked yesterday's boxes. 2 were marked. 1 remained. He drew the 3rd check with a slow line. He wrote the date at the top of a fresh page. He opened his email and found a note from a compliance trainer about the quarterly refresher. The subject line read like every quarter. He clicked and enrolled. He made the calendar entry land on Thursday at 3. He set a reminder for 15 minutes prior. He did not do that for Ken. He did it for himself. He liked the cover of routine workaround days with heat. At 9, he stepped into a call with 3 people from a partner team. The talk was crisp. The notes were clean. He recorded the call with a small icon in the corner visible to all. He did that on every cross-team call. It had saved projects more than once. It was usual here. At 9:40, his screen flashed with a new thread created by Ken about file access. The writing was polite and exact. It carried a copied manager at the end. Ronald answered in the same tone, added a link to the policy page, and ended with happy to help. He did not add a smile. He did not add any line that could be heard as edge. The manager replied with thanks to both. The thread went quiet. Ronald sat back. He felt the shift in the table of the day. Not a crack. A tilt. He wrote in his notebook. Ken, second formal note with manager added. Keep hallway contact to 0. Keep voice even if approached. He closed the book and slid it away. He stood and walked to the small kitchen on the floor. He rinsed his mug and filled it. A person from HR he knew in passing poured tea beside him. They traded small talk about a new leave policy. She mentioned a training on respectful workplaces on Friday at 10. New module, she said. We added a bit on off-hours boundaries. Good, he said. She smiled. We keep learning. He nodded and returned to his seat. He sent 2 updates and checked a build. He answered a queue from a junior analyst with a screenshot and a line of guidance. He asked for a test by end of day. He set his own timer to check it. At 11:20, his phone vibrated with a call from a number tied to the company directory. He answered. Ronald, this is security, a male voice said. We are reviewing access logs after hours. Quick check. Did you badge in on Sunday? No, he said. I was out of town Sunday. Copy. Thanks. The call ended. He wrote it down. He marked the word security with a small dot. He looked at the window and the slice of sky. He kept his breathing slow. He put both feet flat on the floor. He opened a new document and wrote a single paragraph in plain language. If asked, I will state that I am not in a relationship with anyone at work. I will state that I keep all contact with coworkers within policy. I will refer to project logs and calendar entries. He saved the file as statement_draft in a private folder on his home drive. He closed it. He took a call at noon from a vendor with a tone that edged toward a complaint. He listened, reflected the concern, named the fix, and set a date. He logged it. He ate at his desk again. He answered 2 messages. He felt the day pull across a wire and hold. Across town, Ken stared at his own screen in the hotel's business center. He read the 2 threads again. He saw the weight of the manager's CC. He heard Jenny's words in his head. Be glass. He did not like how the records looked. The records made lines where heat could live. He pictured Friday at 6, and then saw a letter on company letterhead he did not want. He sent a short reply that added nothing. He closed the window and rubbed his thumb and forefinger together until the urge to type more passed. He walked outside and stood under a small tree by the curb. Cars moved. A bus hissed. His phone buzzed with a bank alert, and then went still. He had not called Ronald. He had not stood under a window. He had not driven by any place. He had kept to the plan. He also felt watched by words on a screen. He looked up at the hotel windows and then at the street. He put his phone back in his pocket and went inside. He told himself the rules would keep him safe. He told himself rules did not help if the other man owned the paper. He went back to his room and sat on the edge of the bed. He stared at the carpet and thought of the word receipts. He had used it as a joke once. It did not feel like a joke now. He stood fast and reached for his bag. He stopped. He let his hands fall and counted to 10. He kept the plan. For now. At 3:40, Ronald checked the junior analyst's test and sent a thumbs-up icon. He closed his open tasks and wrote 3 lines for tomorrow. He put his notebook in his bag and shut down the screen. He picked up the sealed envelope from his closet when he got home and moved it to a different shelf. He laughed once at himself. He left it there. He sat at the table and wrote 2 sentences on a clean page. If anyone asks, I will tell the truth. If anyone threatens, I will not meet in private. He underlined the second sentence once. He closed the book and set his pen on top. He had his proof, if proof became the shape of the day. He had his lines for his own voice. He would wait for Friday at 6. He would not chase anything before then. He turned off the kitchen light and walked to the window. The city moved in small ways below. He watched it without reading signs. He let the quiet be the quiet. He was ready if quiet ended. Chapter 6, The Leak. Friday, 5:58 p.m., the kitchen was quiet. The dog lay by the door. The table held 2 glasses of water and nothing else. Ken sat first. Stacy sat across from him. He spoke in calm lines. I kept the space. I booked the counselor. Monday at 3. I want to fix this. Stacy nodded. I am not ready to say yes or no tonight. He held the table edge. No more contact with him. I kept the pause, she said. After tonight, I decide the shape. Not you. He breathed once. Then say the same for us. I will. They sat in the still air. The clock on the stove rolled to 6. He stood. I will stay at the hotel through Sunday. She watched his face. Thank you. He picked up his keys and left the house at 6:20. He drove without music and did not call anyone. He told himself he would look once, then go back to the hotel and hold the line. At 7:10, Stacy wiped the counter with slow circles and threw the towel in the sink. She took out the card from the porch and read the line again. For later this week. No need to reply. Love you. Jenny's pen. Jenny's timing. Jenny's words that fit the shape of a hole before the hole existed. Stacy stood still and felt the click of a pattern she had not wanted to see. Jenny had called on Wednesday and used the same phrase she heard tonight. Small and clear. Friday at 6. Jenny had walked with her and drawn the frame she now sat inside. Stacy picked up her phone. She called Jenny. Jenny answered on the second ring. Hey, did you know he would book a hotel? Stacy asked. A beat. He told me after he made the plan. Stacy closed her eyes. After he told you. Not after he told me. I wanted to keep you steady, Jenny said. I did not want to add noise. Where is he now? Stacy, Jenny said soft. Hold still. He needs to cool. Where is he? Silence for 2 breaths. Downtown, Jenny said. Near his office. You guessed that. Jenny did not answer. I will call you back, Stacy said. Please do, Jenny said. I am close to Maple. I can be anywhere in 10. Stacy ended the call and stared at the card. Love you. She set it down and picked up her keys. She drove without the radio. She took a side street to avoid traffic. At a light, she opened the car map and tapped recent destinations. A line showed the hotel, then the route home, then nothing. She knew Ken's pattern when he felt cornered. He moved. When he moved, he marked. She had started to learn the marks. She turned toward the blocks near his office. Ken had told himself he would not chase. He parked 2 streets from Ronald's building and sat with the engine off. He watched the stream of people as the workday let go. At 7:34, Ronald exited with 2 team members. He spoke to them at the curb, then split off and walked east. He had no bag tonight. Just his notebook in his hand and his jacket zipped at the collar. Ken waited a full block and then fell in behind the flow of pedestrians on the other side of the street. He kept his head down and his pace even. He did not cut corners. He did not stare. Ronald crossed at a light and paused by a bus shelter. He checked his phone and slipped it away. He walked again. He passed a corner store and a dry cleaner and turned into a small side street that led to a surface lot. Ken stayed on the main sidewalk and kept parallel. He reached the mouth of the lot and stopped under a streetlight. He did not step in. He watched the rows of cars and the way Ronald moved down the 3rd lane, not in a hurry. He had a line ready. He had kept it plain. We need to set a boundary. You do not call my house again. No threat. No shove. A line. He stepped into the lot. Ronald stopped near the back and looked at a small scuff on his shoe. He lifted his head when he heard the footsteps change. Ken, he said. Ken kept 2 car widths between them. We will keep this simple. Ronald's phone was already in his hand. The red dot glowed at the top of the screen. He did not wave it. He did not hide it. I record tense parts of my day, Ronald said. For both of us. Ken felt the heat rise in his chest. He kept his voice level. This is not a tense part. I am stating a boundary. All right, Ronald said. State it. You do not contact my wife outside work again. I have honored the pause she asked for, Ronald said. I will honor what she decides after that. I do not make her choices. Ken took a step and then stopped. He looked at the phone and then at Ronald's face. You will not walk through my home. I do not want your home, Ronald said. I want my work quiet. I want safety. Safety, Ken said. He laughed once. You stir a house and ask for safety. Ronald spoke slow. I will not follow you. I will not call you. If you want a statement for work, we can go inside to an office with glass and 2 chairs. Ken shook his head. No offices. No chairs. Ronald shifted his stance. He kept his voice even. Then say your last sentence and we both walk. Ken opened his mouth. A car rolled into the lot and turned into the second row. Headlights washed across both of them and slid on. The car parked near the exit and cut the engine. Stacy stepped out. She saw Ken first. Then the red dot on Ronald's screen. Then the space between the men. Ken, she said. Get in the car. He stared at her. Go home. Get in the car, she said again. Ronald did not move. He kept the phone chest high. Stacy, he said. I am leaving. She nodded once. Do that. Ken did not step back. We are not done. Yes, we are, she said. Right now we are. Ronald took 2 steps to the side and started toward the exit. He kept the camera on, angled down to the pavement. He did not turn his back until he passed them by 3 car lengths. A second set of headlights bounced across the wall and slid in from the street. A compact car pulled fast into a slot near the mouth of the lot. The door opened hard. Jenny got out and shut it quick. She took in the scene and spoke in a low voice. Ken, stop. Ken turned to her by reflex. The look between them lasted 1 beat too long. Stacy saw it. Not the look of enemies. The look of people with a plan. Her face changed. She took 1 step toward them and stopped herself. How long? She said. Jenny held up a palm. Not here. How long? Stacy said again. Ken looked at the ground. Jenny kept her eyes on Stacy and did not answer. Ronald reached the sidewalk and slowed. He glanced back once, then faced forward. He lifted the phone to his ear and called a number. His voice stayed calm. He named the cross street. He asked for a security check on a lot with a raised voice report. He did not say names. He did not add color. He gave details a guard could use. In the lot, Stacy stood between the 2 cars and held her breath steady. You 2 planned this week together, she said. You used my head as the map. Jenny swallowed. I tried to keep you safe. You kept me close, Stacy said. That is not the same thing. Ken stepped toward Stacy, hands open. I set a boundary with him. That is all. You broke your own line, she said. You came here to corner him. Jenny spoke fast. We told you not to do this, she said to Ken. Stacy turned to her. We. Jenny fell silent. A voice carried from the sidewalk. Security, a man called. A flashlight beam moved along the fence line and swung into the lot. Ronald stood with the guard near the entrance and pointed with an open hand, not at a person, but at the general scene. The guard lifted the light and called again. In here, he said. Hands where I can see them. No one moved for a second. Ken lifted his hands. Stacy lifted hers halfway and let them fall. Jenny took a breath and set her shoulders. The guard started across the asphalt with the beam steady. Ronald's phone stayed recording. The night held its shape for 1 beat more. Then it changed. Chapter 7, Daylight. The guard's flashlight steadied on their hands. Keep the space, he said. Stay where you are. Ronald stood at the mouth of the lot with the beam behind him. He kept the camera rolling. His voice stayed level. No one touched me. Voices were raised. Ken stared at the light. I'm fine. Stacy did not step back. We are leaving. Jenny looked at Stacy and then at the guard. I am here to take her home. Sirens drew close. The guard lifted his radio and spoke a short code. He did not add color. A cruiser slid to the curb. 2 officers got out and entered the lot with open hands and measured steps. Separate, the first officer said. He pointed at 3 different corners of asphalt. You. Here. You. There. Ma'am. Over by that light pole. They followed the map. Ken stood near a bumper with his jaw tight. Stacy stood alone and kept her breathing even. Jenny stayed where the officer pointed and folded her arms. Ronald met the second officer by the exit and said his name. What happened? The first officer asked Stacy. We came to stop a private argument, she said. I told them to leave. He did not. Who is he? The officer said. My husband. The officer wrote that down. Any threats? No, she said. Raised voices. He moved toward the other man. The guard came. Across the lot, the second officer listened to Ronald's clean lines. I asked for security, Ronald said. I recorded when I sensed a tense moment. I want to leave. Do you know them? The officer said. I know her through work, Ronald said. I do not know him outside that. Ken watched both talks and felt heat in his chest. When his turn came, he spoke fast. I asked for a boundary. That is all. He has been in my home by phone. I asked him to stop. The first officer nodded. Did you follow him? Ken stared at the pavement. I came to speak. That is all. Did you call him from blocked numbers this week? Ken lifted his eyes. I did not threaten him. I did not touch him. That was not my question, the officer said. Ken did not answer. The guard stepped in with a calm voice. They were 2 car widths apart. The man with the phone pressed record from the start. Any contact, the officer said. No contact, the guard said. Raised voices. Then 2 cars arrived. I called this in when I saw the shape of it. Ronald held out his phone. You can log the timestamp. The second officer nodded. Save it. If a report is needed, we will note it. Jenny tried to catch Stacy's eye and failed. The first officer walked back to Stacy. Do you want a ride home? No, she said. I drove. Do you want a report filed tonight? Stacy looked at Ken, then at Ronald. Yes, she said. Document that this happened. The officer wrote. We can also issue a trespass warning for this lot if the manager agrees. It keeps people from circling back. Please do, Ronald said. The manager on duty came out after a call from the guard. He signed a simple form and handed copies to the officer. The officer turned to Ken. You have been warned off this private lot. Do not return without a reason tied to a tenant. Ken nodded once. The second officer asked Ronald for his voicemails and saved calls. Keep them in your possession, he said. We are taking notes, not seizing anything. Ronald nodded. Understood. Any injuries? The first officer said. No, Stacy said. No, Ken said. Jenny shook her head. No. The officers wrote the last lines. They returned phones. They gave a card with the incident number. If anything escalates, one said, call at once. The lights left a blue echo on the wall and then faded. The guard walked the beam back to his booth. The lot fell quiet. Stacy turned to Jenny. How long? Jenny did not look away. 10 years. The words carried in the empty air. Ken closed his eyes. He did not say a thing. Stacy nodded once. Keys, she said. Jenny understood. She took her house key off her ring and set it on Stacy's open palm. Go home, Stacy said. Do not text. Do not call. Do not come by. Not this week. Not next. Jenny swallowed. I will honor that. She left without another word. Stacy faced Ken. You said you wanted daylight. This is daylight. He lifted a hand that did not know where to go. Stace. Do not speak, she said. He dropped his hand. He watched her walk to her car. He watched her drive out and turn left. Ronald stood on the sidewalk and waited for the lot to empty. He put his phone in his pocket. He breathed slow. He walked away when the last taillight vanished. By morning, the record took a shape Ken could not control. A neighbor across the street had filmed the police lights through a fence and posted a short clip online. No names. No captions. The comments filled with guesswork. Someone recognized Ken's sedan and sent a text that felt like a tap on the back of his neck. At 9, a manager at work asked Ken to come in at noon to clear the air, with HR in the room. The note was polite and exact. He could see the distance in each word. He showered and stared at his face in the mirror. He saw a man who told himself a story and believed its scale. He felt the story shrink in his hands. He drove to the office and sat in a glass room with a box of tissues in the corner. HR asked simple, narrow questions. Did you go to the lot? Did you approach an employee? Did you record? Did you touch anyone? He answered in clean lines. Yes. Yes. No, no. They wrote it down. They thanked him for his time. They reminded him of respectful workplace policy. They told him not to contact Ronald. He walked out under lights that felt too bright. He passed a wall where a poster about off-hours boundaries had gone up that week. He did not look long. On his floor, 2 people avoided his eyes. Another asked about a spreadsheet with a voice that sounded staged. He answered and sat. His screen blurred and then came back into focus. He pushed through the next 30 minutes and then left. He did not clear his inbox. At home, he found a note on the table under his folded legal pad. I am staying with my sister for now. The counselor can keep the appointment. You can take the slot or cancel it. I will not be there Monday. I will be in touch with next steps on the house. Please do not come to my work. He held the note and felt the weight shift in his chest and settle lower. He opened the drawer where the phone had lit on Monday and stared at the empty wood. He closed it. He packed a real bag this time. He called the hotel and asked for 3 more nights. His voice cracked on the second night. The clerk said the room was open. He thanked her. His mother sent a message asking if he needed help. He typed a reply and erased it. He typed again. I am okay. He sent it and wished he had not. Stacy sat at her sister's kitchen table and wrote her own list. Names to call. A lawyer. A counselor for herself. The bank. She did not write Jenny's name. She kept that space blank. At noon she met with a counselor in a quiet office with a plant by the window. She spoke for 40 minutes and cried once. She did not apologize for crying. The counselor wrote a few words on a small card and slid it across the table. Safety plan, she said. Not because you are in danger. Because structure is your friend this week. Stacy took the card and put it in her wallet. She drove to the park and sat in her car. She watched a father push a stroller past the bench where she and Jenny had once split a muffin. She did not get out. At 4, she met Ronald in a public place with windows and people. They sat across from each other with water on the table. I am sorry for the lot, she said. I am sorry for the week, he said. We are done, she said. That is not a punishment. It is a boundary I need to set to find myself again. He nodded. I accept that. He slid a printed page across to her. This is what I logged. In case anyone tells you a story later. She read the dates and times. The calls. The security note. The officer's card number. It was clean. It matched her memory. It matched the line she had sent on Monday night. Thank you, she said. Be safe, he said. They stood and did not hug. They walked out through the same door and turned in different directions. Jenny waited on her porch with the lasagna pan washed and dry. She had already set it in a paper bag with a folded towel. She did not expect Stacy to come. She watched the street as the light changed. She saw a couple walk a dog. She saw a delivery truck stop and move on. The bag sat at her feet. Her phone stayed quiet until evening. Then it buzzed once. Leave the pan on my porch on Monday. I will be out. We are done, Jen. Do not explain. Do not answer. Be well. Jenny sat down on the step and read the message twice. She typed a reply and erased it. She set the phone face down and stared at the lines in the wood. She thought of the day at Lakeview with the sun and the wet hair and the paper cups. She thought of a line she had written in a small book. Keep Stacy. Keep calm. She had failed at both. She cried without sound. Then she stood and carried the bag inside. She would leave it on Monday like the message asked. She would not be there. The charges landed late the next week. Misdemeanor harassment and disorderly conduct based on the lot report and the recording. A date for arraignment. An order to avoid contact with Ronald outside formal channels. Ken read the document at the hotel desk and felt the room tilt. He called a lawyer and set a time. He did not call Stacy. He went to the hearing in a plain jacket and kept his voice low. He entered a plea on paper his lawyer had prepared. He walked out under a sky that looked like any other day. He felt like a man who had been moved 2 squares back on a board. He thought he understood. A short piece ran in a small local outlet about an incident in a lot and a court date. It named no one. It did not need to. People who knew him knew enough to fill the blanks. 2 clients put projects on hold. A vendor stopped replying. A friend sent a message with no words. Only a heart and then a period. He stared at it and did not answer. At night he lay in the hotel bed and watched light creep under the drapes. He started a list for the counselor he had finally kept. Control. Fear. Rules that made me feel safe. He added one more line. Tell the truth without asking for pity. He shut his eyes and tried to sleep. Stacy walked through the house alone on a Sunday afternoon. She touched the back of a chair. She opened a window and let air move. She stood in the doorway of the room where the phone had lit. She did not linger. She boxed up old photos and set the box by the door. She left the wedding album on the shelf. She could not lift it yet. Her sister came by with flowers and a joke that failed on purpose. They ate dinner at the table with the legal pad under a coaster. Stacy lifted the coaster and looked at the blank cardboard. She set it back. When the house was quiet again, she stood at the sink and washed the last plate. She dried it and set it in the rack. She wiped the counter and laid the towel over the oven handle. Her phone buzzed once. She did not move toward it. She waited. She picked it up when she was ready. "Counselor can add a second slot on Thursday," the message read. "For you alone," she replied. "Yes. Thank you." She put the phone down and looked at her hands. The ring was still on. She turned it once and stopped. She would choose a day to take it off. Not tonight. She walked to the front door and opened it. The air felt cool on her face. Across the street, a man watered his hedges and waved. She waved back. She closed the door and leaned her forehead against the wood for a slow count. Then she lifted her head and stood straight. She had a life to build that did not hide under rules. She would decide who she was without the lie. She would decide if forgiveness served that life or if a clean cut did. She turned off the light and went upstairs. The house held a new kind of quiet.